Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1731A, and today's date is December 3rd, 2018, and the title of the episode is Brexit Exposed, Central Banks Are Cornered, Prepare for Impact. Now, before I get started, I wanted to talk to all the Trump supporters. Noble Gold has just released a 24-karat solid gold commemorative Trump 2020 Freedom coin. The demand for these has been staggering, and I have to tell you, there's now a waiting list for them. And if you're a Trump supporter and you want to own one of these, right now, if you get on their waiting list, they are currently discounting the coin over $50 per coin, which is an incredible savings for this commemorative coin. So to get on the waiting list and reserve yours, go to TrumpCoin2020.com to secure your coin. The link is at the bottom of this video. To make it a lot easier, all you have to do is click on it. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, we know the plan is to bring down the central bank system, and there are many individuals working on this with Trump and the Patriots. And we know the central bankers, they're having a very difficult time trying to control the narrative. Now, remember, their whole game, their whole mission is to control countries, to control the people. And they thought they'd be able to do this with the Brexit, to make sure that no other country left their system. And it looks like the lies have been exposed. Now, we know the Brexit was voted on. The people said, you know something, we want to be separate and apart from the EU. We knew the central bankers were never going to accept this. Well, we find out that Theresa May, she refused to publish the complete legal analysis of the agreement she signed. And the leaked analysis proves she lied. Now, this is the part which she didn't want out there. No individual member state has a veto. However, member states are very likely to have a veto over any future arrangement agreement, creating the possibility that a member state disgruntled at the WA could decide in the future to veto the FAA, which is the Future Arrangements Agreement. So, back on November 26, Trump proclaimed the Brexit agreement sounds like a great deal for the EU. And we knew it was weighted towards the EU, not towards the people who voted for the Brexit. And Trump came out and said, yeah, this does not look like a good deal. Actually, yesterday we talked about Jeremy Corbyn. He said this is going to make it a lot worse off for the people of the UK. And we see right now that Theresa May refused over a week to post the legal review of the Brexit arrangement she signed. Instead, she posted allegedly sufficient excerpts on which Parliament could make a decision. Now, here is the leaked Commons legal analysis of the Brexit deal, which completely vindicates what Trump said, which vindicates almost what everyone said about where this deal stands and who it benefits. Here's the first part. The note, marked not for general distribution and obtained by Brexit Central, is dated November 26 and states that the UK-EU Customs Union, which would come into effect if the backstop is triggered, would be a practical barrier to the UK entering separate trade arrangements on goods with third countries. This is in direct contradiction to the Prime Minister, who has insisted that her deal will allow the UK to have an entirely independent trade policy. The legal note also appears to suggest that Prime Minister's claim that her deal takes back control of our laws by ending the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice in the UK, with our laws being made in our Parliament enforced by our courts, does not entirely stand up to scrutiny. Basically, Theresa May lied. The control is with the EU. And this is why the EU is out there threatening the people, saying this is a great deal, you better accept it or else. And this is how you know that this is not a good deal. The central bankers were just exposed. Theresa May is in line with the central bankers. As you can see, those people who profit from the central bankers, who take orders from the central bankers, they're not working for the people. But this is all changing around the world. Why do you Why do you think we see protests in France, Germany, Sweden, which we'll be getting to that later in the next report? But there is change coming to this world, and nothing can stop it. Trump tweeted out the following with President Xi. President Xi and I have a strong and personal relationship. He and I are the only two people that can bring about massive and very positive change on trade and far beyond between our two great nations. A solution for North Korea is a great thing for China and all. Think about what he just said here. China and the United States can bring about massive and very positive change. Trump is already signaling that everything is about to change. Everything is about to change with the central bank. Everything is about to change the way we know it today with the economy. How do we know that things are changing? How do we know that this is true? Well, we're starting to see a lot of countries maneuver away from the dollar. Now, why do you think they're maneuvering away from the dollar? Why do you think Russia, China, they've been moving away from the dollar? Now, we need to go back in time a little bit and understand that the central bankers, they had a different plan altogether. They were planning on this major event, which was war, to explain away why we have to tighten our belts, why you're not seeing food on the shelves. And there are many other agendas associated with war, with reducing the population and things like that so they can restart their system. Now they have a problem. Now their plan is out the window. And you can see that Trump, Xi Jinping, and Putin, they're all working together to remove the central bank. Now, what has Russia and China been doing? Now, in the beginning, China, they were preparing to take on the reserve currency, or to be the powerhouse of the new economic system. The central bank was going to move in on this and control the entire system. And now it seems that Xi Jinping has broken free of that. Putin has already taken over his private Western central bank. They have hardly any debt. And right now, Trump is signaling that positive change is coming. Not a trade war, not a real war, but everything that we know as what we're seeing today is going to change. Now, we know that China and Russia, they've been working to set up their own payment system. They set up their own trade systems. They're moving away from the dollar. Eventually, all countries were going to move away from the dollar. Now, they were going to move away because they knew that war was coming and a new system was being developed. Today, they're moving away for a completely different reason. The reason is that the central bank federal note, it's dying. And now the European Commission has reportedly formulated a plan to reduce the role of the dollar in international trade. All the leaders around the world understand that the Federal Reserve is about to fail. The Federal Reserve fails, the federal note goes with it. If the federal note goes with it, so does the petrodollar. We see what's happening out in the Middle East. Things are changing very rapidly. The deep state has lost complete control out in the Middle East. So right now, the European Commission, they decided to move away because they know they can't stay with the dollar. Most of the countries can't stay with the dollar. They already know that this was planned, but they were going to do it under the cover of night of war, and no one really would have noticed what was really going on. Now it's out in the public. People see it happening. So right now they're saying that member states should promote wider use of the euro in relations with third countries in field of energy. This is another indicator to let you know everything is about to change. So the Commission calls on member states to include in their intergovernmental agreements with third countries a model clause developed by the Commission related to the use of the euro as a default currency. Participants in European energy markets should use more energy-related contracts denominated in euros. Before, everything was done in the petrodollar. It's all changing. So we have Iran, Russia, China, the European nations, Africa, all getting prepared and ready to move away from the dollar. Now remember, going back to the 1400s, each country at a certain time, they were the reserve currency. I mean, if you go back to the 1400s, it was Portugal. Then around in the 1500s, it was Spain. Then if you move into the 1600s, it was the Netherlands. And then if you move into the late 1750s, it was France. Then if you move into the 1800s, into the 1900s, it was Britain. And then after World War II, it became the United States. Now remember, this was the central banker's reserve currency that was used, go all the way back in time. What happens if we don't have a reserve currency? What happens if the central bank doesn't control any of this anymore? Guess what? There's no one country that is the reserve currency. All countries are an even playing field. What happens if we take it a step further? What happens if we use blockchain? Completely diversify everything. And I'm talking about the blockchain cryptocurrency that is not created by the central bank. Two different animals completely. We wouldn't have what we've been having going back in time. We would have a world without the central bank, without control, without a country that could sanction other countries, a country that would not become corrupt, a country that would not impose its will on others. Well, that's what's coming. This is why Trump is out there talking about positive change. This is why everything has been set up and the narrative has been created to take down the central bank. This is part of the big plan. We have all different parts of the plan. These are all moving parts right now. You're watching a movie play out right now. Actually, as Q would say, enjoy the show. Well, this is one gigantic movie production. And they've been planning this for a very long time to take down the entire central bank deep state and remove them from our lives. Remember, these individuals like the central bank, these are unelected leaders. These aren't the people that we wanted. The people that are running the EU, those aren't elected leaders. The people don't want what they're dishing out. This is why you're seeing protests all over the place. It's against the elite. It's against the establishment. It's against the central bankers. And that's why everything is about to change. So get prepared, get ready for everything and anything. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.